A column of destroyed armoured vehicles line the streets of Bucha, northwest of Kyiv, in the wake of Russia's withdrawal. Ukrainian forces have retaken the city, but there's no sense of triumph, just despair at the horrors left behind.
We see civilians' dead bodies lying around the city. We are now collecting the evidence from the witnesses, multiple rapes of women, children killed. This is a massacre.
Tatiana says she was forcibly separated from her husband by Russian soldiers. 2 weeks later, she found his body in the basement.
I recognised him by his shoes, his trousers. His face was mutilated, his body was cold. He was buried a metre deep, so dogs wouldn't eat him.
The scenes in Bucha are monstrous. Bodies line the streets, civilians found with their hands tied behind their backs in suspected executions. A mass grave is thought to contain as many as 300.
These are war crimes. These are crimes against humanity.
Russia denies any massacre took place, calling the images
another production of the Kyiv regime for the Western media.
World leaders have condemned the actions as a former UN chief prosecutor calls for an arrest warrant on Vladimir Putin.
We must relentlessly investigate these crimes committed by the Russian armed forces. The perpetrators and those in charge of them must be held accountable.
Concentrated evil has visited our land. The killers, executioners, rapists, marauders who call themselves an army and who deserve only death after what they've done.
I can't be sure exactly how this will play out, obviously, as far as bringing Vladimir Putin before some kind of tribunal of war crimes. But I just can't quite see the pathway to doing it because there are two main institutions. There's the International Court of Justice, which can't begin this motion. It doesn't have the power to begin this motion unless the UN votes on it. And Russia, of course, has a veto. So it could come up with some kind of declaration, but Russia vetoes the declaration and then what? And then there's International Criminal Court, and Russia, like the United States, is not a signatory. So then the question is, well, how would anyone end up before that court? Because if someone's Russian, Russia's not going to send them to that
So
court.
he just gets away with it?
Well, possibly. I mean,
I think the international community is going to absolutely have to step up because, I mean, yes, there are wars happening everywhere and it's absolutely horrendous. What is happening in Russia is not going to stop with Ukraine. It's not, and we know that. And Bucha is not the only village where we're going to see these images that we have absolutely seen. And so, you know, as a Lithuanian, this is something that is quite terrifying for me, who has family in the region. I find it really hard to talk without becoming emotional about it because I think it is something that the international community has been grappling with terribly for the last decade or so. Putin has not done this in a vacuum. And I think if they don't actually come up with an answer and drag him in front and his generals in front of some sort of international criminal court, then what do we stand for?
Can you see how they could do it, though?
Look, I mean, like, it is horrendously political, but, you know, we have seen quite a lot of very difficult trials take place in The Hague, you know, even before Germany was a signatory and things like that. And I think that you can get rid of Russia's veto of the UN. The reason that we had it was to keep Russia nice and playing along the same rules, but Russia has thrown out all of those rules, or the Kremlin has thrown out all of those rules, and so you can throw out the rules too. I'm sorry, I'm very hardline on this. Putin is a war criminal.